Hi, I'm Chellie Cameron, CEO of the City of Philadelphia's Division of Aviation. February is Black History Month, and I'm thrilled to take this opportunity to interview Black leaders throughout the aviation industry, to be able to spotlight their careers and to be able to introduce you to some of the amazing people I've had the privilege to work with. First up is someone that I am very proud to call my colleague and friend, Ms. Soledad Alfaro. So Soledad, a number of our listeners and viewers don't know you. Could you fill them in on your background? I know it's absolutely amazing, and I think they'd be really interested.
Sure. So thank you, Chellie. I am a science and math person. I always was. My father is a physical chemist and is an incredibly brilliant person. And my mother was more of a language person. So I grew up with reading a lot and doing a lot of math. So when I went to college, I was actually an engineering major at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And probably about I think it was my sophomore year, I realized that it was not my thing, and actually changed my major to biology. So I graduated with an undergraduate degree in biology, which my father said wasn't real science.
So your dad said biology wasn't real science?
He said it wasn't real until he got diabetes. And then he wanted to talk to me all about how cells exchange potassium and all. I'm like, oh, is it science now, Dad? But yeah, so I graduated in biology, and I actually worked in a lab for a little while and hated that with the white coat and everything. And my mother was so proud, but it just wasn't for me. So I transitioned over into education, and most of my career has been in education, and recognized that I really liked the systems part of it. I liked the business part of it, and was fortunate enough to get a lot of experience in kind of the back infrastructure of education. And so that's where I spent most of my career.
So what sparked your interest in PHL? What made you come and do an airport? Because it's pretty different than education.
Definitely different. So when somebody reached out to me, I was actually in the place where I was thinking about transitioning, and somebody mentioned to me, well, the airport is looking for a chief of staff. And it was something that just wasn't in the realm of consideration for me. And I was like, why would they hire me at an airport? I don't know anything about airports. And it really became about, well, transferable skills. And then when I met you and during the interview process, and you had this amazing vision for the airport, of really transitioning the airport from kind of a city agency into an enterprise, a business enterprise, which was so exciting to me. And you were so passionate about it. And I love a challenge, and I like to build systems and processes. And so that was really kind of what did it for me, to change to come over to the airport.
Yeah, and that absolutely was what I think sold me on you, was when you started to talk about your passion for systems and process. And I knew that that was something that we really needed to work on. And so, yeah, I remember thinking, oh, this is it. This is it. This is it. I think we could create a partnership that could really take us to the next level. So when you take on ways of doing things that have been in existence for a long time and try to change them, that's really difficult.
I mean, now we're in COVID time, but pre-COVID, I think we were on this high that was just really amazing, and a lot of it as a result of your leadership and your vision around what can we be as an airport, as a gateway to the region and to the world. And so it's been exciting to really jump in on that vision.
Well, thank you for saying that. But listen, it takes a team. It really takes a team.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's funny because when you reflect and you say, okay, well, we have these three great people. Sometimes you have to think outside the box and think about the piece that you might be missing. to ultimately make that teamwork better. And honestly, I think that was you. So,
Oh,
so
thanks.
talk to our listeners about pride. What does that mean to you? And can you talk about anybody that you may have encountered in your airport journey who embodies pride?
So pride stands for people first, respect, integrity, diversity, and excellence, which I think are fantastic values, all of which I wholeheartedly embrace. There are so many stories at the airport and so many amazing people. Um, so Shaquana comes to mind, right? So she's acting budget officer and is a person who, in a time where we're like, we have to reduce our budgets drastically because of the pandemic, has just stood up and like made it happen, always responsive, always engaged, always willing to think through and problem solve. Love, love, love the spirit she's shown and commitment during this time. I think of an Aaliyah Pinkney, who's, got, at home, like still processing payables and, reaching out. And again, like one of my favorite stories is actually pre-pandemic. Sheila, one of our colleagues, and I were walking in the terminal because I was a big terminal walker when I was there every day. And so we're walking in the terminal and a passenger allowed their pet to relieve themselves in the middle of the terminal in the walkway.
Oh,
So we're standing there. And so we're both like, okay, let's make sure nobody steps in this. And we're on our, to job control.
yep.
And two custodians are walking like up from behind us, clearly coming, but no carts or anything, like clearly coming back from a break or on their way to a break. And one of them, he walked past us, he went into the restroom, he came back and cleaned it up, didn't say a word, went and grabbed some paper towels, cleaned it up. And I was like, and I just got his name, I was like, just got his name because he was just gone. And Benjamin Foster, I had to research to find out what his name was. But I think that that is so indicative of so many of the people we have at the airport who, are just, you don't have, you don't have to ask, you don't have to push. They see a need, they lean forward, they get it done. If you talk to people about working at the airport, they love the airport. They love working here. And that, I think, just gives me so much joy to see people embody those values every day, whether remote or in the terminals.
I've often used the word family to describe, my work family.
Yeah.
And, I think that really lets people understand that there really is a feeling of camaraderie, that we feel like we're all in it together,
Yeah.
that we take care of each other. It's something that's really special, and I'm glad that you've been able to experience that as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this has been a tough year. We mentioned that a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
really, really tough year. And as a woman of color, I know that it's been a pivotal year for you. Um, we've talked a lot about that in the organization, and you have been leading some of our efforts to address race and inequality and equity. Would you talk about what that means to you as a woman of color? Um, and in this moment to be able to lead that work?
Um, yes. So I think that for all of us, I think as a country, this year, the 2020, has been a challenge, right? In lots of ways, right? We, I think, have been more divided than in any time in my memory. And the kind of racial reckoning that happened over the summer really sparked some real soul searching, I would say, at the airport. And I think that you really led the way in how do we make sure that we are meeting the needs of our employees, that we're at least giving them the space to work through what they're experiencing. Because as much as we'd like to say that we leave personal stuff behind, that's not true. We're whole people and we come to work with all of the things, all of the things. And so in partnership with Jonathan Todd and Delisha Wilds, you know, with your approval, I've been able to create this Racial Equity Advisory Council, which really seeks to highlight how I think the best way for me to say it is, how do we create the space for everyone to come to work and be successful and feel heard and be their whole selves?
And I just want to say thank you, because I don't know that I could have, I know, but let me just say, I couldn't have led us through this without your help and without all those people that you mentioned, Jonathan and Delisha and all of the folks who were on the REAC group. I couldn't have led us through it without your advice, your counsel, and your help. And I think that ultimately you have made us a better organization.
Oh, Shelly, thank
And
you.
you know, not just for this work, but in all the different ways. And so I'm going to take this public opportunity to say thank you for making me a better leader and for making our organization better. And we needed to talk about these things, and I think we've come a long way. We still have a ways to go, but I think we've come a long way, so thank you.
Thank you for saying that. That means so much to me. I hope you know that means a lot to me. So thank you for the opportunity. I really, and I've said this to you privately, without the, you know, encouragement and the space to lead that you have given me during the time that I've been here, I wouldn't have been able to. So thank you.
What advice would you give? So one of the other things we've spent a lot of time talking about over the past few years is, how do we get more women? How do we get more women of color to come into the aviation career field? What one piece of advice would you give to a woman who is thinking about coming into aviation as their career?
I would say to be open, and to do some research and talk to some people. Aviation, again, look at my story. I had no idea how diverse the field is with respect to what is open to you and to us, right? We have engineers and accountants and human resources people and airport ops people. And I would say, you know, be open-minded and curious. Ask questions, do some research on what the aviation industry is. It's not just flight crews, right? It's not just pilots and flight attendants. We have some really cool people who work at the airport. And that would be if I were, you know, still making a decision about a career path, that would be what I think. It's what turned it for me, was talking to you and meeting you, to think that this was something that I could do and be successful at.
You know, the Executive Women in Aviation group that you've been a part of with me, we were talking about, I don't think you were able to make the call last week, but we were talking about Candace McGraw, who's the CEO in Cincinnati, is on this panel on on women in aviation. And they asked a very simple question. I roll my eyes. Very simple question. How do we get more women in aviation? And she threw it out to the group. And I heard over and over again the same things that you said. We've got to make sure that women know they don't just have to be pilots to be in aviation. There are so many different career fields. So I think that's excellent advice. And again, thank you for being on this journey with me and with us. It's really been great.
Thank you for talking to me. Thank you for the invitation. Um, this is it's a tough time, and I think that, you know, I do have hope though. I know that, you know, it's going to be a struggle and we have a long road ahead of us, but you know, airports are part of this foundational infrastructure in this country, and so I would just say that, you know, we stay the course, and I'll see you on the other side.
It was a real pleasure to have you with me. And you are exactly right. Airports are vital parts of the community that they serve, and we will come out of this. So, to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for taking time to visit with me and Soledad Alfaro. I'm Chellie Cameron. Thank you for joining us.